So this is a response video to Eli Socrae. Eli recently posted a video that talks about the problematics of women not being as easy as they used to be if it comes to, for example, one-night stands or open relationships or friends with benefits. And it seems to be that he came to realization that it's way more complicated it is now as it used to be 5 or 10 years ago. I want to go into a more psychological, social depth, so to share and to give some advice in why it's so problematic and why it's not the way to go, it's not something to pursue, and why it's basically adding to a downfall. Now, this video might be criticizing Eli Socrae, this is criticism, but it's criticism with the intention to uplift. It's not to mock and insult and ridicule, it's actually to add something positive to a negative experience. So bear with me. Now, for many people that do not know Eli Socrae started many years ago, kind of in the similar category niche as J Station. The 3 a.m. challenges, the 3 a.m. content, anything that had to do with scary stuff, spooky stuff. Interesting thing is that the majority of people that were into it were still children. We were growing up children. Now, Eli Socrae made himself really stand out because of his IT videos. IT videos, meaning that it was kind of a response to the remake of It by Stephen King, It Part 1, It Part 2. He just completely went all in and became very famous and grew and climbed the social ladder when it comes to YouTube. Now that progress put him in a specific spot, but only based on a specific type of content. Now everybody knows that trends die out, so it's not wise to solemnly invest in that if you want to make a YouTube career. So I want to go into the latest videos Eli Socrae uploaded. Most of his videos aren't 3 a.m. challenges, but rather women he brings home to the crib, or encounters in public, or mukbangs. Now, these things by itself are clickbait-ish, and they do draw in an attention and a certain crowd, but there is no substance to it. The interesting thing is that he came to a realization that this is not the way to go, and he wanted to change. But it seems that it's very difficult to change because change doesn't come naturally. You have to be confronted with something before you realize what to do and what action to take. Now, the mukbang video is one thing I would say, do not go in that direction just for clicks and likes, for views, for whatever money you can get out of it. Think about it. It's also taking away, stripping away your health. It's eating away at your health, literally. The more you invest in fast food, the more the fast food destroys your overall health. So you don't want to do that just for money, because what if at the end of the road, even if you work out, even if you do other stuff just to keep in check, you still have to pay the price sooner or later at a certain time, at a certain age. Is it worth it? All these couple of views for a little money, then again, just to see you eat. The mainstream, the people that are subscribed to your channel, only and still the ones that are loyal care about the 3 a.m. challenges. Why? It's because it's nostalgia. They feel something about it that they can connect and relate with you, because whenever they think about Eli Socrae, they think about 3 a.m. challenges. Now, I can understand everybody grows out of it, a phase, a trend, and if you don't want to do it, you can still rebrand yourself, even with a channel with millions of subscribers, even if the majority are dead subscribers, you can still make it work. I've noticed that there are certain things where your interest lies. For example, working out, right? Having this flavor, this taste, this craving for different types of food. And of course, also social interactions, relationship experiences. Now, you can exploit that just for some views and some money and feel terrible or empty or question yourself afterwards, concerning on a moral basis. But what you can do is you can convert it into something that can be helpful, insightful, and actually provide something positive to your audience and to new people when you decide, or if you're willing to rebrand. What do I mean? You can use relationship experience to share your own experience, what you learned from it, or how people treated you, or how you treated people, and how you see people now. Like, see it as some type of personal growth, steps in your personal growth that you can share, that people can relate to or benefit from. So it's kind of like coaching, but more storytelling than actually guidance. Pretty sure you can do that. Pretty sure you can because of a lot of relationship experiences. I'm not saying that to criticize and negative. I'm saying that use it wisely and use it in a positive. People can benefit from it and people will support you if you decide to do so. That's number one. Number two, if you really care about working out and if you really have this taste for specific food, you can also transform it into trying out diets and how it influences your day-to-day regime, your working out, like what diet fits best with your workout routine, trying them all out. What about that? That's like a good idea, right? That's no junk food, promoting a healthy lifestyle and sharing your personal experience and sharing it out of experience. That's the thing. People, like with anything in the world, whether it's food, whether it's products, people want to hear other people's testimony so they can decide for themselves whether they want to go through with it, they want to buy it or try it. You're helping people if you decide to go in that direction instead. By just consuming fast food, by exploiting women for sexual gratification, these things don't add positivity. It's negativity to other people, judgmentalism and criticism, and it drags you down and leaves you empty and alone. That's not what you want to think about it. Whatever you do in your life affects other people. It's called a ripple effect. Think about it. Now, the final part is your question, and I'm going to give a very straight response to it because I've been talking about this subject for more than a year on YouTube right now. And even if the majority of videos got deleted, or I had to delete them specifically because of YouTube's policy, I still know that there is some essential stuff I can share that people can still benefit from without going all in or all wild, right? So, your question was, why is it so hard for me to get women to come with me and bring them home? Why aren't women so easy to give it up anymore like they used to? Because you experienced the shift and now you're questioning and asking yourself why. What is the problem? What changed? I'm going to tell you exactly what it is because I'm very aware and I'm very precise in understanding the social dynamics that made this shift. Now, let's say we're going to overlap women and men as a larger group. I'm not going to specify or redirect to people with specific identities or preferences. I'm going to focus just on the larger scale because that means I'm not singling out any type of group because I want to respect YouTube policies. So, men in overall, 2/3, at least almost 3/3, 100%, almost 100% of men will strive for the organic route of heterosexual relationships, heteronormality, monogamy, depending, of course, where you're at the social class. But in general, normal people, normal average guys, no disrespect, no hate, average guys, just like me, just like you. Monogamy, heterosexual relations, and even marriage and engagement and children. Like this thing is the first thing to go to. Automatic, that's a biological response. Keep that in mind. Now for women, there has been something in previous decades and until now even once more that is called the sexual liberation. Now since women are more emotionally, socially involved than men, it means that whatever changes in society and culture, women will adapt to because it's about connecting and relationships. It's about interacting on the emotional level. Now, that's why social aspects and norms are very important to adopt and to blend in with, because a woman doesn't want to be left out. A man being shunned and left out is less of a burden to that man, less of a punishment than for a woman. You got to keep that in mind. And I'm generalizing, I can't say specifically for all, but I'm generalizing something that is just human nature. You can look it up for yourself. Now, so when there is a generation upon a generation that provides the essence of traditionalism within marriage and relationships and anything that has to do between male and female relationships, then that's something you adopt. But if you come to a certain time where culture and society changes their way of perceiving oneself, as an individual and perceiving society and perceiving relationships, then whatever changes, the women are going to be the first in line to go with it because they do not want to be left out. Plus, they're going to include their children as well. But the men are going to be standing aside and observing it and using their rational mind, whether it's a wise or an unwise decision. And they're most likely not going to be convinced instantly. That's where you already have a difference based on the gender. And this is psychology and sociology. I didn't make it up. These are facts. Now, everybody is free to choose. Everybody can decide for themselves in what direction they want. There are no restrictions in Western countries, but it does define the overall future of a nation on a larger scale. Coming again back to your question. So, we all know the term woke. Woke is a very overlapping term that can be used on all different levels, political, sexual, racial, whatever you want to call it. It's like an enlightenment, an eye-opener to what you thought was true but isn't, and now you found the truth and now you're woke. Okay, so we can agree upon that that's kind of the term used when people use that word woke. Now, why are more women woke than men is because if you have something like sexual liberation, that means that you're not restricted to heterosexual relationships. You can explore and test out other types where your sexual identity can change, where the other person's identity is not bound by their biological, physical anatomy. And then you can also go beyond just two people being together. You can have 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. So that being an option is more tempting than just saying, staying with one man, having a relationship with one man and eventually bearing that man's children. I don't want to do that. That's not meant for me. I'd rather experiment, explore. I'd rather be not bound and restricted by traditionalism. Now, you got men still trying to find traditionalism in relationship with modern women, while modern women do not want that whatsoever because they see anything from being a mother, having children, being in a monogamous relationship, being in a traditional heterosexual relationship as restrictive. It's not liberating. It's not woke enough. You see what I'm getting at? So if you ask the question, why aren't women so easy anymore to give me that, to give in? It's because they have all these other alternatives. Why settle for the bare minimum that's basic while you can do all the other stuff? While you can be identifying differently, playing a different role, asking the other person to play a different role, have a different type of relationship. That's not monogamous, that's not heterosexual, that's not traditional. It's like one thing is boring while the other thing is more exciting, and there are no restrictions or limitations or definitions. So you got to see from that perspective. And it all has to do with society and culture changing or evolving or becoming more woke. Now, so what you get is men that have always pursued that traditional route to be left aside and questioning what is going on and why it's not working anymore, while women are just among other women and just identifying as whatsoever and doing whatsoever because there are no limitations. It's you do whatever, you be whatever, you are whatever. So you understand what I'm saying, right? One is restricted, the other one is open-minded. And that's where the problem lies, why women prefer not to give in, because you're just a straight guy, you just want that, and you don't care about all the other stuff, or you don't promote it. Well, that's way more interesting and exciting and beneficial on a certain level. And that's the sad reality. It's a specific problematic in the West. It is. You can look up charters or a chart in general concerning Western Europe and Eastern Europe and Asia, where these things are more normalized and accepted and more important for the general public. So in the West and the East, it's different. I read like 3% of people on the whole population in Romania would deal with these things. Only 3%. On a large scale, it doesn't mean that much. It basically is nothing. But if you look at the West, it's a very high percentage. I can give you an example that since, let's say, 2000 until 2024, there has only been a little shift and an increase with millennials if it comes to that type of mindset and preference on social and sexual level. But for Gen Z, it's double the amount, almost triple the amount than millennials, and 5 times as much or 8 times as much as Gen X. So that shows that whatever society lays out as a new way of looking at life and relationships and identities, that becomes the new norm. And that's why more and more men specifically get left out and aren't able to participate in any type of relationship. And because of that and that realization, I made a bold decision to not stay around and stick around here anymore, because what's the point? What's the point? If normal guys, average guys, are not going to be able to do so because, women are more liberated, they're more woke. Then there's not much you can do. You can't force anybody to do anything. Then that's just either you accept it or you move on. And this is the most peaceful thing you can do for anybody without causing harm or stress. And personally, I found that there is a peace of mind, if you really are serious about yourself, to be found outside the borders of Western nations. That's the thing. And the last thing I want to add is, don't pursue worldly things when you can lose your entire being and soul. What is it to gain the entire world when you lose your soul, when you sell your soul? All these materialistic gains, the flesh, the possessions, anything that is specifically bound to this physical realm that adds to the seven sins, according to Catholic traditions, I'm just basing that, my opinion on that. It's not going to add to you. It's not going to make you a better person. It's going to increase spiritually. You're going to increase spiritually. It's going to drain you and leave you empty, alone after a certain amount of time. You only have this amount of time. It's just a little bit. Why spend it or actually just blow it on superficial things that do not have any essence and don't mean anything? A wise man should invest in himself. What do I mean by that is build himself up, not only socially, but specifically spiritually, because the spiritual part is going to last. The social part, the materialistic part, the economical part is temporary, it's fixed, So you gotta just see life has to be balanced out. But when you go in one direction, how can you find balance? There is only going to be unbalance and chaos and destruction, and eventually being disappointed and regretful. And that's not something you want to live up to until the olden days, when you get to that age. Many people do, even if you're not hearing about it. Just think about it. Just take your time to think about it. This is just my piece of advice, because most time on YouTube people would criticize, but they're not going to give any advice. They're not going to try to help or give something back so that the person can reflect upon it and perhaps change their ways or their mind for themselves, not for other people, for themselves. Personally, I think anybody can improve themselves if they just take the time to see the things for what they are, recognize what is harmful, recognize what is beneficial, and what they should be focusing on if they want to reach new types of heights unseen prior to this life they have been living until now.